The House Rules Committee debating the reconciliation bill and what's a critical step before it can reach the floor for a full vote. Join us now, Deputy Treasury Secretary Michael Faulkender. He is also the acting commissioner of the IRS. This is a case study, I think, Michael, in what it takes to get one of these across the finish line. We've seen it. We've seen the Democrats try to do it, and reconciliation is unique in what it takes. Are you singing an optimistic tune about who's getting whipped and whether the president was effective yesterday?
Absolutely, Joe. I mean, you think about where we're at now compared to where we were at in 2017. And what's really remarkable is the ongoing unanimity of the Republicans. So, you know, in December, took till December 2017 to get the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act over the line. We've already got a budget reconciliation bill done, you know, the joint resolution in order to unlock the reconciliation process. We're now looking to have the bill on the floor of the House later this week. We expect to take it to the Senate. And so we're making remarkable progress. We always knew that with these tight numbers, there were going to be negotiations all the way down to the end, all the way until that bill passed. But we continue to make remarkable progress, and it really demonstrates the leadership that Speaker Johnson, that Chairman Smith have been providing, and the fact that they have been working on this probably for about a year now.
The expression that don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, you always have to use that. And obviously, between Democrats and Republicans, they're split. But between Republicans on one side and Republicans on the other side, there's a lot of it's fractionated at this point. And you're asking both sides, the SALT side and the people who want deeper cuts, you're asking both of them to swallow quite a bit. And my point earlier was, you know, when you finally get all three branches of government and you have a chance to do something, when you're worried about who's going to win in 2 years, that's all you're ever worried about. It makes it almost impossible to govern.
Joe, we are going to get this bill over the line. There are going to be negotiations down to the very end that reflects the fact that we are a big tent party, that there are a lot of different people in this party that have different types of outcomes they want to see come of this bill. This is the major piece of legislation that we're going to see come out of this Congress. And so we see representatives looking to get as much as they can for their to implement the policies that are going to best help their part of the country, their districts. And so we always knew coming down to the end that the president and the secretary and the administration were going to have to weigh in to get this final bill over the line. But we are going to get there. And as you said, we are not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. As Reagan used to say, if you'll offer me 80%, I'll take it and I'll come back for the other 20% later. But we are going to get this bill passed out of the House this week, get it over the Senate so that the president can sign this. Because remember, what is the alternative? The alternative is a $4.5 trillion tax increase at the end of this year. The alternative is for all of the investment incentives that are being negotiated, things like bonus depreciation extensions, factory immediate write-offs, R&D tax credits. Those things will go away. We'll see a doubling of the standard deduction. We'll see increases in rates across the board. Nobody wants to see those things happen, and that's why we're going to make sure that we get this across the board by the end of this week out of the House.
Mr. Secretary, do we need to believe that the policies will spur so much growth that we can be less concerned about spending cuts? Because there are Republicans that look at the way Medicaid is administered and what happened, the way it came about under Obamacare, and the number of able-bodied working adults, not working adults, that are able to benefit much more, disproportionately much more than pregnant women or disabled individuals. And it needs reforming, but it's not going to happen again. Because, as you say, the enemy of the good, the blah, 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 this is an opportunity to do something on that. And don't you think it's being missed again?
The president is working as hard as he can, and the administration is working with him to see that we enact the greatest amount of spending cuts that we can get. Ultimately, we have got to get 218 votes in the House, and so we are working to see where we can identify waste in those programs, ongoing fraud and improper payments in those programs. This also doesn't include all of the work that DOJ is doing on the discretionary spending side. This administration is committed to finding ways that it can increase the efficiency of the government, that it can reduce improper payments, and thereby reduce spending. We are going to continue working with the House to see where there are the votes to enact the greatest amount of reforms in some of those programs that you mentioned that we can get.
Would it be optimistic to hope that we can come in at well below $2 trillion this year, next year, the year after, or are we just stuck with that given the impossibility of doing anything about it?
The president submitted his budget to Congress recently, and you saw that we are putting ourselves on a track to getting towards a balanced budget. We're going to continue working every day with the House and the Senate to see what kind of reforms, both in mandatory and discretionary spending, that we can get them to enact. But we are committed to getting the fiscal situation of our country back under control. The Secretary has indicated that his goal is to work with Congress and the administration to get down to a 3% of GDP deficit target by the end of the 4 years. And that because we know at the end of the day, we do not have a revenue problem. It is spending that is out of the norm historically, and that's where we really need to go after getting the budget under control.
It just seems like, the difference between Republicans and Democrats, Republicans blow out deficits with a lot of spending, and they would say Republicans do it with a lot of tax cuts. And there are some tax cuts here, and without the commensurate spending cuts. So I just think, once again, we're back to being dependent that some of these growth projections, which some people might say optimistic, they need to come through, but you're confident they will.
We are confident because, again, if you look back at the first term of the Trump administration, the combination of tax reform, of unleashing American energy dominance, and of the deregulatory environment that we created, we saw 3% growth in 2 out of the 3 pre-pandemic years. We saw the debt to GDP ratio stabilize over that time period, and we think that we had a low inflation environment, we had enormous job growth, we had record low unemployment rates. We believe that we can get back by re-implementing the policies that we had during the first term, that we can get back to sound fiscal policy, sound economic outcomes like GDP growth, like low inflation. We can once again realize the golden age the president has promised.